Yes, we do give thanks for life and a mighty life giver. We give thanks for all good things around us are sent from Zion above. So we praise Farai for his divine love. We give thanks for the opportunity to exist, the opportunity to breathe, to even to feel pain. Most times, people would come to me. People always come to me when they have pain and, or they're suffering. And one of the things I always tell people is that, in fact, I have a client in the mountain. When he came down and I was just pressing on his leg and he said, ouch, ouch. I said, yeah, well, it's good, you feel the pain, because I said, if you did not feel when I pressed on your shin, then we'd have a problem. So sometimes even the pain in our lives, we consider, well, it is something that we don't like, yet still it is a recognition of the life that is within our physical structure. It is a recognition of the fact that our nervous system is operating so efficiently that it could actually transfer that message to your mind, that you could understand, yes, you have pain, you have to pull your leg or you have to stop doing whatever it is that you are doing. So even in the greatest of discomfort, you have to give thanks. So the physical structure teaches us that even the things in life that we might not like, they are there for a specific reason. And if we take a time out and we examine it, then we could, see what they'd call the silver lining, behind every dark cloud. So we give thanks as, the Movers and Shakers is a program that is geared towards highlighting positivity. So we're speaking of birth announcements instead of death announcements, celebrating the lives of the people who come out of the stardust into the creation right now, into the flesh, into the matter that we know. And understanding that we are not just the physical matter, but we are energy. We are beings of light. Specifically because the physical structure is made up of cells. And every single cell is made up of atoms, elements. And every element is made up of atoms, electrons, neutrons, and protons. So all we are is just, when I say the human anatomy and atomy, all we are is a series of elements that actually comes together, to create this visible, I and the trees and the butterfly and everything, and understanding that we are all energy. So we are all one. We all one, So we are celebrating the life within each of every one of us, and instead of looking at the sad stories, we are highlighting all the positivities that is within our midst. Because most times, if you look at the news, north, east, west, and south, you would think that it's only bad things happening. When within our communities, within our villages, within the countrysides, the dead Obondier places, within in St. Lucia, there are many great things happening, great people doing innovative things that, we don't hear about. So Movers and Shakers is that platform that allows us to actually celebrate our people, celebrate the people around us who have actually been doing great things. And then we give thanks for you to join us this Tuesday and every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. on this television station, Heron Television Station. So we give thanks again for being with us tonight. And we have a new co-host in the person of the founder of the Ubuntu movement, Goddess Utopia. And, we have two wonderful people we're going to be speaking to tonight, our community custodian, and also we're going to have what we call our local legend that we're going to be celebrating this evening. So give thanks, Honorable.
Bless Allah. Give thanks for life. So in community custodians, we seek to highlight individuals or organizations that are doing remarkable things, that are making big impact. It can be within the entertainment, tourism, within sports, arts, but there are individuals or organizations that are using what they have available to be innovative, to create something that is of use to their community. And tonight, we are featuring Blueprint Group as our community custodians. We have Mr. Kurt Eli Box, and I'll proceed by introducing you to him. He's born on April 25th, 1987, in the tranquil community of Mac, Bexar. He's demonstrated a lifelong commitment to leadership and excellence in every pursuit. His educational journey commenced at the R.C. Boys Primary School, followed by his successful completion of the Common Entrance exams at the age of 12 leading him to the Castries Comprehensive Secondary School, from which he graduated in 2005. Mr. Eli Box subsequently pursued studies in construction engineering at the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, graduating in 2007. After a brief tenure working alongside his father, he joined the Sandals Projects Department, where he gained invaluable experience that laid the groundwork for his future endeavors. In 2011, Mr. Eli Box took a bold step by founding Blueprint Construction Limited. The company has established itself as a leading construction firm in the Eastern Caribbean, offering comprehensive services including design and build, renovation, civil works, and property development. Under his leadership, Blueprint Construction Limited has gained recognition for its reliability, its innovation, and its modern approach to construction. Mr. Eli Box's entrepreneurial success was acknowledged when he received the prestigious Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award from the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce, not once, but twice, 2013 and 2014. Today, Mr. Eli Box is recognized as a leading young businessman making impactful contributions to the economic, social, and moral fabric of St. Lucia. He remains actively involved in initiatives that drive progress and development within his community and beyond. In addition to his primary enterprise, Mr. Eli Box manages a diverse portfolio of businesses across various sectors, including entertainment, agriculture, real estate, and equipment rental. His notable contributions to the entertainment industry include founding Blueprint Entertainment, Inc., previously known as New Generation Entertainment, which is celebrated for producing highly anticipated events such as the Wet Fete and the Caribbean Soca Festival. So, Mr. Eli Box, welcome, and we look forward to hearing, who is Mr. Eli Box, that is the founder of Blueprint. Give thanks.
Good night, everybody. First of all, let me say thank you very much for having me on this show. It gives me a great sense of appreciation and recognition to, there's many young people and older people in and around St. Lucia doing great things, and to single myself out, that for me, it means a lot. So I would like to say thank you very much for that.
Give thanks. Even before we continue, we have a short 40-second clip of one of Mr. Eli Box's endeavors. So we'll just briefly watch that, and we'll continue our communications with you immediately after.
Woo! It's go, 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 go time. Tick, tick, boom. Who bringing the noise? Go, baby, we bringing our toys. Separate men from the boys. Chopper be singing, should be on the voice. Bang, bang, we gon' ride out. Gang, gang, we don't die out. Want it like this, ain't no timeouts. Tell me who really gon' find out. Rowdy, we get rowdy, rowdy. Rowdy, we get rowdy, rowdy. We be disturbing the peace. Working, we serving the streets. About to go ahead, going beast.
Yes, as we definitely see, pardon us there if we see a little glitch here, sometimes we have these human errors. So, definitely you see the works of the young brother, and, we really wanted to highlight you, Honorable, because, I have a business in Mark, and I know your mother, I know your father. The father of your wife, was instrumental into even my advent in restaurant business. That's Wally, the air-conditioned genius. So I basically saw a lot of your growth, when you came onto when Wally used to talk proudly about, his son-in-law.
Still does. Wally's
yeah.
like one of my biggest fans. Wally, sometimes when I feel down and out and I feel like, okay, I can't do this no more, Wally will call me and pull me on the side and say, let's go for a drive. So I hear that, let's go for a drive. I know it's a pep talk I in for, so big up to Wally.
Yeah, but so give thanks. So I want you to tell us about, what about your growing up in Mac? Because when you look at your portfolio, I go to your construction hardware store in Grosile, and it is comparable to any other construction hardware store in St. Lucia. You have your lumber yard, you have your cement, you have everything at the back there. A young man from Mac that is in a position whereby you could say, well, you are competing with the likes of the M&C Home Depots, and you get in there, you're getting into the races. What about your coming into being, your growing up from Mac that actually gave you that sense of that you can do it?
My growing up in Mac, that contributed to, I guess, me being one part of the person that I am. But I think even more so, what contributed more to the person that I am today is the family who I had around me, beginning with my mom and my dad. So my mom was like I said a while ago, Wally is like a great cheerleader of mine now, but back then, my mom was my biggest cheerleader. She would always be the one to tell me, okay, if you believe, if you want something, go after it, and go after it wholeheartedly. So in my early days of growing up, when I was going to school, I was into pets, right? So I would breed birds, I would breed rabbits, I would breed dogs, and go back in town and sell it to the pet shops on a Saturday. And sometimes my mom would kind of be there alongside me, help me transport the pets, from Mac, jump on a bus, take it to the pet shop, and help me open a little bank account. And then bankers in which I had junior savers or super savers bank account, So I opened my little bank, and she would manage it for me, ensure that she sees what's going in, make sure nothing goes out, make sure nothing goes out. So my upbringing in Mac was one part of the equation, but the family support that I had from my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, that in itself lent, a great deal to the person that I am today. And then those persons always made sure that they instilled proper values in me and always kind of spoke to me to stay along the right path. Because again, I wouldn't say growing up in Mac it was tough, but I was exposed to a lot of
Mac isn't done. When I bought my property in Mac, my mother said, hey, Mac Ugale. Mac near Shaifore.
it
so
wasn't...
Mac probably my colleagues they don't understand, but Mac was looked at as one of the places whereby pretty larceny and
right.
Them type of things that was rampant.
It was rampant for sure.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, like I said, the roughest of places, but again, I made the best of it. So I had fun riding bicycle, around now Christmas time, bursting bamboo, playing around in the gardens, eating from the garden, learning how to, just survive on the land. Survive on the land. When I was growing up, I didn't have no cable TV and internet and this and that. I wouldn't say I was underprivileged. I didn't grow up very underprivileged, but I wasn't the most privileged child. I mean, when I was in RC Boys in primary school, some of my classmates, when they came to school and they would hand over projects to teachers with, properly typed projects and binded projects, I would have to handwrite my projects and staple it. But guess what? Both of us would get 90s. They would maybe get 98, and I would be right there at a 98 as well, or maybe even 100. So at the end of the day, I tell people sometimes, you don't use the circumstances that you don't use the circumstances that you're within to be against you. You use it for you. Mm-hmm. You use it for you. And that's what I did. That growing up in that environment, and like I said, it wasn't a bad environment. I mean, growing up in Mac in the countryside, it was fun. It was a lot.
We never saw. Okay, like I grew up in countryside too. So when you're growing up in it, I remember because I way in the housings and then people there. So your mother would tell you, "Golly, tap your blood," because you
you were in that for days, right?
Yeah, because like when you're growing up in as a youth man, in these times, I would say, well, chores and responsibility, like just knowing that even as a young man growing up, like you have a chore, you have a responsibility. There is some way that, as young as you are contributing to the upliftment of the family. How was that to you?
So the chores, and I say that to my wife all the time. I wish I could raise my kids in math, because for me, just going back to what you said, the chores and the responsibilities, knowing that every day when I leave school, I think RC was dismissing at 2:30 at the time, to walk to the bus stop, catch a bus, and make sure I'm home early enough. I had goats, I had sheep, I have to go and look for grass for my rabbits. That was my chores and my responsibilities every morning before I go to school, right? For 8 I have to get to school for 8. So wake up one morning, around now, Christmas time, it's cool outside, the dew, you have to go out in the fields, cut grass, right? My grandfather and my grandmother had pigs. Sometimes you have to wash up big pen, you have to go and tie the cow. I young, I skinny, and cow dragging you from here to wherever, and you can't stop the cow. When the cow says go in, all that you do before you go to school, right? All that you have to go through before you get in a classroom. So sometimes by the time you get in the classroom, people think, oh boy, you may just wake up, you had breakfast and you're fresh, but you don't go for 2 or 3 tough hours for the morning already. So definitely it did teach me a great sense of responsibility, for sure. That again, up to this day, I take my work and I carry that sense of responsibility onto my business endeavors. So every morning I get to my business place at a certain time, and I have that instilled in me. So from my childhood days, I learned how to build routines. So my routine would be wake up in the morning, take care of the animals, go to school, from school, take care of the animals, football, come back home, homework. And that was just that routine for the 7 years that I went to RC, and in 5 years of Compre, the routine changed slightly. So for now, the path that I'm on with Blueprint, I have a particular routine that I'm following for the next amount of years until I get to the destination where I want to get, and then that routine will change again. But having those routines from having that routine method was embedded or instilled in me from so young. Right now, it's very easy for me to adapt it in almost any aspect of my life. Yeah.
Give thanks. Well, I find it impressive that at such a young age you were rearing animals, and then, just the fact that you were able to gain finance from it. It's like at that young age you were already, how do you say it?
Entrepreneurial.
Yes, you're already a young entrepreneur.
Now, again, I say that to my workers, and I say that to my staff. I say that to, just about a lot of people who I speak to. Blueprint gets intense sometimes.
Before you even get to like Wet Fet, Wet Fet was like a very, very successful
it
entertainment,
Okay, so Wet Fet was intense. So the weekend, Wet Fet always was on a Sunday, so the last Sunday of July, right?
Once a year?
Once a year. That weekend leading up to Wet Fet, we would sleep at Salmon's Park. So it was a group of us, right? That weekend leading up to Salmon's Park, we would, the Wet Fet on a Sunday, we would sleep at Salmon's Park on the Friday night, the Saturday night, and sometimes the Sunday night after breakdown. We're too tired to break down and move out with drinks, so we would sleep there the Sunday night again. And all the while, I growing up rearing animals, having Wet Fet, again, just touching on Blueprint, even now with Blueprint, I don't really focus or pay too much attention to the financial aspect of it. I'm not going to go into the business to lose, but it's not like every minute I call in the ticket outlets and say, how many tickets have you sold? Or it's not like every minute I do in a job, I call my accounts department or quantity and say, how much money have we made on this job? Or when I rear animals, I say, okay, you know what? I spend so much money on food already. Let me cut back on the food for that animal, and I'll give it less, or give it grass and not give it commercialized food. You understand? I do not pay. And it's a very thin line. You have to watch the finance, because again, if you're going into it as a business, you need to make a profit. But that for me, that has never been my primary focus. So for me, I would have friends in the entertainment industry during my days of Wet Fet, and they would say to me, I think you're giving too much. So for example, we had a VIP. And the VIP, at that time, you pay, it was like $175. And you drink top shelf liquor from 2 o'clock to 10 o'clock. The party end at 10, 11. Sometimes the police let us go a little later. And the drinks vans from the various liquor companies would be packed right there at Salmon's Park. And the minute they say, hey, this top shelf liquor, Hennessy done, Johnny Walker Black, another case, replenish, replenish, replenish. Because at that time in my mind, the only thing I'm seeing is give persons 100% customer satisfaction. And for me, that has kind of been a major guide for me in a lot of what I do. So when I would breed rabbits to go back and sell to the pet shops, I would breed fish. For me, it wasn't just going to the pet shop and say, hey, I sell in 20 fish for you, I sell in 20 rabbits for you. Those rabbits, the selection process of the rabbits, I wouldn't inbreed to make sure that those rabbits grow, to the optimal size. My fish would be of a certain caliber, what food they eat, how often I change the water, what chemicals I put in the water, etc. So for me, again, from that very tender age, I've always been about detail, quality, and ensuring I meet or exceed people's, or my customers, or my clients' satisfaction. And I carry that with me to this day, and I think that has been a paramount part of who I am today.
Challenges. Tell us about, I know that, many of our youths, when they are faced with challenges, you utilize your challenge as a positive, as motivation. But many people who might get against a stumbling block, that might be, boy, that's why, boy, it was hard and I had to go and do that. And how have you managed the challenges in your life, and how has this actually assisted you in being who you are?
Prayer, number one. Prayer. You won't catch me going to church and singing on the pulpit every Sunday, to be honest. You won't catch me doing that, right? But every morning, every night, throughout my drives that day, during the day, I driving from job A to job B, I encountered a difficulty. I pray. It will have to be a 45-minute prayer, but a 20-second or 1 minute, a 10-minute prayer. And most times I do it in the form of a conversation with God. Sometimes I say to people, I talk to God, I don't pray. So I driving, I turn on music, put phone on silent, and I just have a conversation with the Most High. I put it out there, what my problem is, what do you think I should do? Should I make this investment? Should I cancel this investment? Right? So in 2015 or 16, I had a nightclub in Rodney called Zen, right? Zen nightclub. Not the current Zen now. The current Zen now is nothing to do with me, right? But the original Zen nightclub in Rodney Bay. And I invested a lot of money in that nightclub. At that time, there were no other nightclubs, so I saw it as a lucrative venture. I thought, okay, you know what? There's no competition. Let me just go in and just dominate that market. Well, needless to say, it didn't work out that way, right? It didn't work out that way. But, I was kind of still holding on to it for a little while. And then a day, I wouldn't even say a friend, an associate, somebody who I knew cordially, we do little small business together, etc. He came into my office and he said to me, you have a problem with your money. I was like, what? I said, what do you mean I have a problem with my money? He said, you make money, but apparently you don't see any material gains with your money. It doesn't multiply, it doesn't manifest into anything much because it just diminishes. Right? So I said to him, what exactly do you mean by that? He said to me, I can't go into much details, but one thing I'll tell you, that nightclub you have, that nightclub is not in keeping with the way of the Lord. He said that to me. I said nothing more. The club didn't belong to me. Right? It belonged to, I was renting the club from somebody. Opened my drawer. That was a Thursday. Afternoon, about a little after 2. And how I knew it was a Thursday, because my mom does that thing and mark every Thursday.
Yeah, man, yeah.
So I took the bunch of keys. I went to town. I gave the property owner the keys, and I said, I want nothing more to do with that club back then. He said to me, what's wrong? Is the rent too high? Did you have a problem? Blah, blah, blah. Let's talk. I said, no, nothing is wrong. I had enough. And I didn't go into details with him at the time, and I just drove to my mom's place. I ate a meal, and I just kind of just chill out, and that was it for me. And honestly, immediately after doing that, I kind of started seeing
changes, progress in
my business. But challenges, I have had many challenges in different business avenues that I've diverged in. So, for example, in my wet fed days, we had a lot of difficulties in wet fed, and I think a lot of those difficulties were primarily because we were young at the time, right? So, and the first wet fed was 2007, 2007, so I was 17 years old, right? 17 years old, yeah, I think I just kept my license.
17 years old?
Yeah, 17 years old, first wet fed, right? First wet fed. 17 years old, it was myself, Jomal, Gregory, a bunch of us friends, right? So we had wet fed. When we had wet fed the first year, it didn't all go well. I think at the end we lost about $7,500, I think, to be exactly. Owed 3 people, paid off those 3 people. A couple of friends back out because they realized, okay, you know what, that thing not really too lucrative. So Jomal and I kind of stayed and decided, okay, you know what, we'll tweak it a little. So we went in again next year. Next year, still no money. We broke even, like dead break even. Third year.
That's progress, eh?
Yeah. Third year, went in it again. Third year, we made a little profit. Fourth year, more profit.
Growth.
Mm-hmm. Now, by fourth year, a lot of growth. By fourth year now, you start hitting real stumbling blocks. So, bigger persons in society, and when I say bigger, both in age and at the time, some of them,
wallet,
yes, and their influence because of their positions, their associations. Mm-hmm. They literally tried closing doors and putting barriers. Yeah, that's the right word. Reinforced concrete barriers, right? Reinforced concrete barriers.
Coming from a construction
owner. To stop you, because again, moving from 17 to 4 years, that's like 21.
Yeah.
So at 21 years old, you're not going to really, or they're not expecting that you're going to challenge them at the level which some of them think they're at, because again, you know, I'm Mr. So, I'm the chairman or the this or that, and you know, they heading certain carnival organizations, so you know, they have the power to stumble you a little.
And that's in the midst of carnival time, last Sunday in July.
Wet Fed was the opening fed for carnival. Wet Fed was the opening fed for carnival. So the artists would tell you, if...
So you could have imagined that if it is that it was taken up as a national thing, right now this would have been something that the whole world come into.
Back then, the powers that be, they saw Wet Fed as inappropriate because it's a Wet Fed, so people come with bathing suits. Mm-hmm. Right now, just about every carnival party is a bathing suit party. They do it on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
On the road and
everything. But throughout the Caribbean now too, because I remember even with the different feds in Antigua, they had, was it Wet Fed? Yeah, where there was a lot of water guns and all these things.
Yeah, so that was what we got, like, I mean, some of the news agencies would broadcast Wet Fed as very vulgar and inappropriate and this and that, and the talk shows, and you should hear it going on and on and on, and like, you know, I mean, it was just a bunch of...
So you'll be for your time.
That's exactly what my wife said to me. She said Wet Fed was way before our time, the price we charged and everything. Yeah. And then leading on from Wet Fed, there's had so many other events that they try to put all kind of mask and icing and to not call it Wet Fed. There's a
watered-down version of
Wet Fed. But we got many stumbling blocks. So much so there was one year, I think in 2012 or 2013, Lucia suffered from a major drought, and I think government announced that the country was in a state of emergency for water.
So no Wet Fed?
No, through my contacts, I was able to get a badge to go to Dominica, take 100, my annual consumption of water for Wet Fed was somewhere, I had a meter, right? So my water was metered from us.
Yes.
Metered from us. So the first couple of years we were using water trucks. It wasn't viable for the water trucks. People, again, it's all about customer satisfaction. The minute the trucks would have to stop, go get water, come back, that 30-minute window there, my people not getting wet because they're wet fed. You're getting dry, you're getting cool, or you're getting cold, you're going home. So it's just supposed to be water right through. So we paid a lot of money to get a tap from a Wasco main. We got it, got the permission, everything legit, water metered. We pump in almost between 120 to 130,000 gallons of water every year with Fed. The smallest barge to go to Dominica to get water was 200,000 gallons of water. I said, okay, no problem. I'm sending a barge to Dominica. That's me having a meeting with high-level government officials.
How old were you then?
That was 2013, so...
23?
Yeah, 23, 22, thereabouts, yeah. having a meeting with high-level business officials, sitting at a much bigger round table than this, right? And who paying attention, who in their phone, because some of them just couldn't be bothered because, you know, again, a preconceived notion, no matter what we come with, we're shutting that down. That's going to get shut down, right? So I said, okay, you know what? My average consumption is about 120, 130. So I'll take 120 for my event. The other 80,000 gallons, I will donate it free to government. You all could use it for schools, use it for
business money.
Use it for schools, use it for the hospitals, because there's a real state of emergency. The place really have no water. I remember that clearly, right? So I said I will donate free of charge 80,000 gallons of water, okay? And just let me host my event, my 120.
80 of them 1,000 gallons.
Okay? They said, okay, you know, then you see the eyes.
I was saying that's 81,000 gallon tanks.
Yes.
So
yes.
people could visualize you have 80
the 1,000 gallon tanks,
80 of them
yes.
of water.
Right?
Yeah.
So I see eyes rolling and heads start turning at the table because I don't think anyone was expecting that. They said, okay, they'll get back to me. 3 days, almost a week passed. We got a letter, got an email saying, after careful consideration, your application or your request has not been granted. So I wrote back and I said, on what basis? Up to now, I never get the answer.
Wow.
On what grounds? I'm importing the water. I'm not taking the water from a natural, because in a state of national
emergency.
Yeah, well, probably how would you look away still, huh? But I mean, at the end of the day, you're giving 80,
finance and he's contributing
between 80,000 tons of water.
I'm importing the water, so you know anybody come and talk or make rows about it, you say, okay, the man imported his water.
Well, you could still say that even if you have farming, and you know, and nobody have food, and you import food and you throw it away, people will say,
throwing it away, I would say no. You're not really throwing it away. Wet fed as.
But that's what our children do.
As
our
much
children
of a
playing with water.
Play with water.
As much of Wet Fed was a private event. Wet Fed did its fair share. So right now, governments they host certain events. You know, if they let foreigners come in to host events, and they piggyback on it and they say, okay, it created so much economic spin-off or so much economic activity. The amount of vendors who would sell, okay, drinks and stuff outside of Wet Fed was more than what we did inside for the bar at Wet Fed itself, right? You had the artists, the sound system, the radio stations, the TV stations, bus drivers, because they shuttling people to and from, the boutiques.
That's a big thing.
The boutiques selling the outfits.
Yeah.
Wasco again, a pretty cut from that.
Yeah, many mouths were being fed.
Many mouths were being fed from that one little
industry creation.
That just one little event held by a bunch of 20-year-old kids, I should say.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like a grand, and you see, that's still where we are now, as good as it is. So it's an opportunity for us to have change, whereby we could embrace our own. That's why we have movers and shakers, you know, to celebrate, you know, because sometimes, you know, I went through almost the same thing with St. Lucia with Wellness Day, you know, and now St. Lucia, that was probably like 2006. That was the first, you know, Wellness Day. When you were in Wet Fed, I was doing Wellness Day. You know, and it was something similar. You know, we said, well, St. Lucia was #1 in the world with diabetes. So I left medical school in 2005, and I came down St. Lucia, you know, 2006. We closed up shop in Antigua. And I remember we said, why St. Lucia #1 in diabetes in the world? We came down, boom. You know, we say, all right, we're going in a decade, 50% down. Yeah, we say that right here on the thing. So we had the Wellness Day event, which basically was an event where, you know, we brought in different people, massage therapists, Tai Chi, you know, herbalists, doctors, people that in wellness, and just speak about things. Right. That was at the cultural center. We had it for about 3 or 4 years. Then we had, then Caribbean Wellness Day came out. And WELL was an acronym we got from Antigua called We Love Life. Yeah. WELL.
Right, okay.
So we had the first one in Antigua in 2005 because I went to medical school there. And we had the Prime Minister of Antigua. We did a big thing in Antigua. And we came to St. Lucia, then we had the Wellness Day. And we even brought some of the people from Antigua into St. Lucia.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that, okay, that's 2006, 2007. The last one I had was probably 2012. You know, and what happened at that time is that they never gave us that support to say, well, because right now St. Lucia is trying to be a wellness destination, you know, and we were already there from 2007.
Right.
Right? And then what happened at that time, I think it was St. Lucia Tourism Authority, one of them people there. They took the same concept, and they had the same wellness, they used the same set of people, and then they wrote me a letter asking me whether I want the booth. They tell me whether I wanted a booth in the same event that we've been using the same. I remember they used the same brother for the Tai Chi. What's his name? Jimmy George. George. I think it's Jimmy George. Jimmy. You know, and you know, doing the Tai Chi, the same people. And then what they did is that they brought in like Iron Chef people, Chef Cora.
Right.
So I said to myself, so I wrote them a letter and I told them, well, our ambition was to develop St. Lucian talent and showcase St. Lucian talent, that people could come back and get the St. Lucian talent.
Right.
Or even regionally.
Originally, yeah, and because we were bringing in people from, you know, and I tell them, so what's the sense of you bringing in the Iron Chef? When she leaves St. Lucia and go back to where she's going, how can people...
What's the benefit?
What's the benefit of it? So...
They'll follow her.
Yeah, I fully understand what you actually talking with your advent, and that's why we find it necessary, you know, to celebrate people, because St. Lucia, as small as it is, you know, because remember, St. Lucia is small. St. Lucia is like 180,000 people. We hardly have 200,000 people. And yet still, we produce Darren Sammy, you know, that is the white ball coach for the West Indies, the only captain that win 2 T20 World Cups,
right.
You know. And now as a young man, you know, nobody talking about that, as a young man, he's coach of the West Indies, as a young man, you know.
And Pakistan, the work
you know, and the works that he has done, and then you check, that's out of 180,000 people.
Yes.
You know, and we had recently Julian Alfred, out of 100, and they have countries for 100 people, 100 million people, 200 million people. So I think that we as movers and shakers, we just want to just congratulate you, you know, celebrate you, your achievements, you know, and what I truly admire about you is basically how committed you are to your family, your wife and your sons, you know. And but just before we seal up with you, in the last 3 minutes or so, just I want you to close on that to encourage the young man and them outside there. I see you at football games, you know. When I look at your wife's Instagram, you know, gymming, all the different aspects. Could you just give us a closing paragraph with regards to the significance of that aspect of your life?
So you give me 3 minutes to talk about my wife.
Your family.
That's impossible. You see, behind every good man, there's a good woman.
Yeah.
I think that.
I'd say on the side of.
On the side of, okay, yes, on the side of. I think for me, I could say that underrated, understated. She has been there. So my wife, we've been together from secondary school, from Form 3, right?
Wow.
From boyfriend and girlfriend. So all of the wet fed I telling you about, and all the trials and tribulations, all the roadblocks. She was one who kind of helped me push through some of those roadblocks, and I had the forefront. Right, so I had the forefront. I am the one who will be on TV, everything. But she, behind the scenes, so the bio would have been done by her, right? So the uniforms, the logos, the company branding, the company name, the name blueprint, all of those things was her. She, you know, that was her.
That's high level. When I see your trucks on the road,
that was her doings. Just, you know. So the name of the company is Blueprint, and people. You see a blue truck, but the wood blueprint is written in red. Yeah. Why not put the wood blueprint in blue as well? And then just all those little details. But my wife, she's big on family. So she keeps me in check, honestly, keeps me in check, in balance with the kids. So I'm a workaholic, and I run, own, manage, deeply involved in
of many things.
A portfolio of companies that all kind of they are tender stages. So the hardware store is at an early stage. The hardware store is only 3 years old. Blueprint Construction was only founded in 2011. So 2011 to now, that's like
14 years.
15 years. That's still a infancy age for a company, right? And again, when COVID hit, we kind of went down and then came back up again. So everything happening now is more or less new, right? So I say that to say, I mean, at the infancy stage of those companies, I have to be deeply involved and there and kind of overseeing everything. I have great staff. I have fantastic staff. From my field workers to my office staff, I have great support staff. So they play an integral part in the success of the overall company. But again, going back to my wife and family, I mean, every morning I leave home and I hug and kiss those 2 little boys. That reminds me of why I do what I do, why I going out there and take hot sun, why I going out there and get concrete splattered. Yesterday, as you see me with a think, well, boy, I'm a concrete man. I had concrete all over me. The shit out of me yesterday probably spoiled. And again, I do that, and I do that happily because I know I'm doing it, you know, for in the long run for my kids' enjoyment, the enjoyment of my
Generational wealth.
Generational wealth. You understand? So waking up every morning, seeing those 2 little boys, getting dressed together with me, going to school, being in the vehicle, interacting with me, asking me the day, clever. Interacting with me in the way that they do, they kind of start coming around now. They're of the age now where they have good enough understanding, and sometimes, whether it be the younger one who's 8 years old or the older one who's 10, they'll hear me speaking to a worker or a client on the phone, and they will interject softly and kind of do a sign or something. You said tomorrow, you said you'll be there at 2 o'clock, and et cetera.
They're strengthening
so
already.
Kyrie and Keanu, let me tell you, those 2 little boys, they're instrumental in my life just as much as my wife.
Yeah, man. Give thanks, as you know, we have the local legend segment coming up.
Yeah.
We give thanks for you taking the time out and be with us today, my beloved brother, and just all the best, you know, and we celebrate you again, and to celebrate him, you know.
Well, of course, I mean, listening to you, you're an inspiration to the young men right now. And just hearing your experience, your challenges, it reminds us in society, even the older ones, the ones who are in certain positions and so on, how we can support persons like yourself, given what you were going through at that age. You were 17 to 23. Right now, a lot of our young men in that age, they're picking up the gun. They're killing each other.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it could have happened. That could have been the path you took, but throughout your life, there is one consistent message. You are always being innovative. You know, you're using what you have and you're creating revenue sources, and you know, you're just building. I would have thought that because you started out with the pets and so on, that maybe you would have had a pet shop or something, yeah. But you went into construction, so it's
my
like...
dad was into construction, and having all the pets, so I would have to build the kennels for the dogs, build the cages.
Okay.
So out of the 2 loves, I chose the construction over the pets.
Yeah, but you're just really inspiring, and I know for sure I'm going to reach out to you because we have an after-school program starting. We would want other young boys to hear of your story, your glory, how you were consistent, how you were committed, even your schedule, sticking to that schedule and being responsible, and look at where you are now, you know? We honor you.
It's all about positivity as well, to be honest with you. I don't do anything out of malice. I live my life by do unto others as you would like others to do unto you, right? So positivity, I know you speak a lot about that positivity, whether it be your staff, your clients, you'll have disputes with your staff, you'll have disputes with clients, but there's always an amicable way and a positive way to, you know, end anything or to come to a resolution to whatever dispute. So positivity plays a big part of that success, if I were to call it that.
Give thanks again, Mr. Eli Box, from Mark Bexon.
From Mark, born, bred, raised.
Mark. Well, you look Mark.
I look Mark. That's good. That's a good.
Yeah, Mark wouldn't be.
Mark look like?
Mark people wouldn't pick up the gun; they'll pick up the cutlass.
Yeah, the cutlass. They like the cutlass.
Yeah, you know, and Mark is, you know, because remember when Mark the butchering capital of the world, and I'm the the man that speaks everything plant-based.
Plant-based.
And I'm driving by.
You have to pass through all and butcher.
Yeah, but I give thanks for it all the time. You know, I give thanks again for you, and we celebrate you. We celebrate all your successes. You know, you and your wife and your children, your family. You know, and the bigger extension of the family that you have. And we pray that the people of St. Lucia would actually take that ensample, you know, and utilize that to actually motivate them. We'll take an intercession when we come again, definitely. We'll continue with our Living Legend segment. Let's celebrate our beloved brother, Mr. Eli Box. Blessed.
Blueprint.
Blessed.
Give thanks.
The answer is just like a natural gift that, you know, we have been able to extract out of nature in such a way that people can use it. Yeah, and in many different ways I'll use it. Use it in juice, you know, drop it in your juice same way. And, you know what I mean, in tea, same way. All different type of ways I'll use it, you know. Most times I take it in water, you know what I mean? But, you know, if you're ever on the road and you need to sanitize your hand, like, you know what I mean, with something that, you know, is like antibacterial at the same time, you know, that is one of the things they can use the answer for, you know. It's for people who undergo and people who are trying to incorporate the natural liberty into everyday modern life, you know what I mean? So it's a gift, you know, we give thanks, it's an answer, you know, for real. The answer is just like a natural gift that, you know, we have been able to extract out of nature in such a way that people can use it. Yeah, and in many different ways I'll use it. Use it in juice, you know, drop it in your juice same way. And, you know what I mean, in tea, same way. All different type of ways I'll use it, you know. Most times I take it in water, you know what I mean? But, you know, if you're ever on the road and you need to sanitize your hand, like, you know what I mean, with something that, you know, is like antibacterial at the same time, you know, that is one of the things they can use the answer for, you know. It's for people who undergo and people who are trying to incorporate the natural liberty into everyday modern life, you know what I mean? So it's a gift, you know, we give thanks, it's an answer, you know, for real.
Yes, we do give thanks to life and Almighty God. We will give thanks for all good things around us are sent from Zion above. So we praise Father for his divine love. We give thanks for our community custodian, Mr. Eli Box, and now we are in the realms of the local legend. What is the local legend?
A local legend is any one individual, or it can be an organization that's really going outside of their, how should I say, their bracket of what is really expected of them, but they're really investing into individuals in society or communities in society. So their work is normally under the radar. People don't really talk much about them or even give them the sort of recognition that they need, even though they have such a major impact on the livelihood of our youths, you know. And tonight we have Sensei Anthony Leons. I always call him Sensei, and you'll know why. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people in St. you know, because he's worked so much with people's children, you know, and even adults as well. They know Sensei Anthony Leons.
Yeah.
Welcome, Sensei. So as we go in, I will just read a bit so you can get an introduction into who he is. Sea Life Paradise started out as Logistics International Inc., owned and run by Anthony Leons for over 15 years. It started out as a simple dive tours company and has since expanded to include scuba, sea trek, snorkeling, and even a virtual reality snorkeling tour. Over the years, Logistics International Inc. has grown, and Sea Life Paradise was formed as its subsidiary, handling all your needs above and below water. Sea Life Paradise has now become a staple of the marine recreation tourism industry on the island, and in addition to providing a quality underwater experience, they have also contributed to guests having a quality cultural experience as well. And Sensei Anthony will tell us more about this because it's very interesting. The company has made it their duty to do their due diligence to highlight the island's rich history and culture through their underwater historic St. Lucian's Round Table and their preservation of important artifacts which are submerged decades ago. Anthony Leons has been responsible for the rapid development of not only his company but the entire dive community on the island, and through his efforts, Sea Life Paradise will continue to expand and provide unmatched underwater experiences while honoring their ever-growing commitments to the preservation of our ocean and culture. As the owner, Sensei Anthony is the most experienced and most requested guide. He built this amazing business from the ground, and although he has many other responsibilities, including self-defense, karate, mentor, you know, the list goes on and on. He's a whole ton of things. He still enjoys hopping in the water and doing tours personally sometimes. Give thanks, Sensei.
Blessed love.
Blessed love.
I know it's just because you have a Leons at the back of your name. You know,
which is what we call generational heritage. That's right. Yes.
Give thanks.
Yes.
So, Sensei Anthony, apart from this, who is Sensei Anthony? Like, where do you come from? You know, what made you, what significant factors contributed to you being who you are?
Well, by birth from Bocage. I was kind of primarily raised by my grandmother. So a lot of the principles are actually handed down from her. She was a community activist, a healer into the healing of plants, somebody who had a rich history in terms of having identified some royal lineage from even Queen Josephine from France. So she was deep into that type of thing. Mm-hmm. She was a sportswoman, a cricketer as well. And I raised with her, seeing her as a hard, progressive person. And she was always giving to the community. So she was a farmer as well. And while helping her, whatever we brought home, it was my task to share it with the neighbors. So I think that is one of the things that actually gave me that impetus to always want to help somebody or to ensure that whatever that I have, that I'm passing it on to somebody else as well. I was a teacher in my early life after I left St. Mary's College. I actually lost my voice through chalk desk as well. And I went into the police.
So you found it back?
I went to the police force. However, I never stopped teaching because I became a dive instructor from there. Was involved in
How
the
long did you stay in the force for?
10 years.
10 years. Wow.
Yes. But I was one of the fortunate ones because this was during the time of the rich investment of the U.S. government in the Caribbean. And they really chose some of the best police officers, for all the reasons, to be trained at the installation. So 9 of those 10 years, I was at a Coast Guard college somewhere in the world. So I spent some time in Navsky Panama. That is where I learned my navigation and boat handling skills, plus furthered my diving. I was in Norfolk, Virginia. I spent some time up there at the Marine College as well. I spent 6 months in Meridian, Mississippi, again in a military installation there. Became a storekeeper, was assigned to a warship during the Falkland War, and then came back here and served as a corporal in the Marine Force. Then, because of the work that we did with Sanders at the time, who was establishing here in terms of health and safety, after a few bids, they actually had me on their team. And I continued my dive education there.
So you just leave the force and you go private?
Yeah, I think at that time we had some issues with, I just felt the principles which I joined under was being eroded. And I had an issue that I didn't think it was just. And I think because of the time I spent in the Coast Guard College, it was believed that I could not leave the force and survive. I was too highly trained to survive as a civilian. And in life, you never tell aliens that they cannot do something.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was also an impetus to show that, you know, we can, I make myself, you know. I went there, I did the education, I got the expertise. But it's also at the time, because I was teaching so much health and safety, it was also an opportunity to get vested in the tourist industry, because we were doing the transition from agriculture to tourism. So I had already seen the opportunity as well. And it was, you know, you saw all expats actually profiting from it. But the locals with the skills was not being recognized and did not have the groundwork nor the finances to actually develop themselves. So I always knew at the end I would have been an entrepreneur and used my skills. I think there was always a dream at the back of my mind as to what I wanted to do. The time was not right then, so when I left Sanders, I spent 9 years with Sanders. When I left, I said I didn't want to work for anybody after that. However, I did a collaboration with Cox and Company, who actually had the license for scuba and sea trek, but they didn't have the training to do that. I also got in touch with the guys who invented the system and became a regional manager and an international coordinator. So it was kind of a good marriage with them having the license and I having the expertise. Mm-hmm. But from the day I joined the company, I noticed that I was always working towards full ownership. And that is one of the things that Jim from Subsea Systems, these were the guys who actually developed the rovers going out to space. I think from the time he met me, he always figured that we would be partners in the business. And then COVID came, Cox and Company decided not to continue to support that company, and I was running logistics as a dive company side by side. So I just bought over the shares, and I just continued the business doing what I had, because all I had to do was buy the license.
The rest is history.
History still being created. Yes.
So where does karate come in all of this?
So I started karate actually at St. Mary's College at the age of 18. I met who I found out later was my relative, Sensei Bobby Santome. And I just walked into his barbershop one day, and he just told me I was destined for greatness. And from that day, he told me if I gave him 2 years, he was going to ensure that I was a champion. And that's really how my karate journey started. Mm-hmm. And
that was from secondary school?
Yes. And shortly before I became a champion, he passed away in strange circumstances. Mm-hmm. And I was in the Coast Guard that time. And I was one of the persons who went to retrieve his body as a diver at that time. Oh. And I think the phenomenal thing that when we did, at that time you were allowed to witness the autopsy, although he fell into the water, presumably from something hitting him from the back, there was no water in his lungs. So he was into translocation and a higher science as well. So it is believed that he willed himself not to breathe, which is almost an impossible task in the water. because he was stuck under the reef when we recovered him. And that really spoke to the greatness of the person. He also was a community activist. He did a lot of his work in Babono. He did cakes. I mean, Bobby did everything. You would have heard during that time banter with Bobby and Rickwin on the calling programs for years, and very highly opinionated as well. And you could actually, even if you didn't say that, you could have seen that we were related, you know. Really handsome, you know, glowing man as well.
Handsome,
You can see you were
I
related.
think he's talking about these things there.
Absolutely. And then after his death, since Mike, who's shortly passed away as well, took over the gym, but we were as athletes together. And we formed the Cobra Squad, just dominating karate in St. Lucia in all forms, especially our pet, which is the Kumite. And after dominating as an athlete for years...
What's Kumite? Kumite is what? What's Kumite?
Kumite is fighting, the
Fighting.
type of fighting. Well, sports fighting. With the military, I ventured into self-defense, and I had a form of it, but in the Kumite aspect was the sports fighting of it. And, you know, when I was from secondary school, one of the things that we were always hunting was black belts. And, you know, as green belts, as junior rank, I mean, since you would have pointed out the senior guys that, you know, that was our challenge. And after dominating, I was still almost in my 40s, I didn't see that happening with our young people. I mean, people were intimidated when myself or Sensei Glenn, who was now my co-instructor, were in the ring. We didn't see young people having that desire to fight us. If we were on a line and the young people are there, they would switch like drafts, you know, and we had an issue with that. And we actually gave up our sports on the national teams and decided to take on coaching and developing young people.
So that's the advent of the karate school my children used to be in?
Yes. Well, actually, I don't know if you recall on one of your exposes when you were launching your movement. You asked me to do self-defense.
Yeah.
That I did. So actually, your kids saw me doing that demonstration.
That's where karate came in. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they had a desire to actually join. And he had fantastic.
So many things we do. I don't even remember them.
Yes.
Things,
He actually had a fantastic group of kids, you know. Still had the potential to be the best.
Yeah.
Very active, you know.
Well, it was always like Sensei Anthony, you know, and Jay, your son.
Oh yes, absolutely.
You
My
know,
two sons, Levi
yeah.
and Jay,
Yeah. So I find that is one of the key attributes that most of the people that we have interviewed here that have excelled in whatever they've been doing is that strong kind of familial kind of bond, and fatherhood, you
Absolutely.
know, and fatherhood, and so. Like, tell us about what is it that actually motivated you to have your children, like, with you? Because, like, Levi, black belt karate, Jay, black belt karate. I mean, even when we have competitions where Trinidad or Matnik come, you know, he excels.
Yeah.
What was that motivation to hold him? Because you know how it is outside there.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that karate gives you when you do it right and you do it consistently is the discipline. It's the discipline of doing. And I always saw that as a tool. And I'm a very busy person as well. So it was also a great way to always have my children with me, my two boys. I was not fortunate to have my father at the time, ever do that for me. And it's one of the commitments I made that my sons, because it was just my grandmother, on all the principles and everything. And I always said that when I have kids, that's not going to happen. That I'm actually going to be...
children?
Yeah, yes. I'm actually going to be present and be with them in their lives. And just by working with other people's young children, you know, really gave me all the practice that I had. Although I'm seen as a disciplinarian, even in the last tournament, parents came to me, and I mean, we just utterly dominated the tournament as we normally do. And they saw that in fact, they started calling us machines. We just came in there, did our stuff. We were just choosing the medals that we wanted. And it was amazing to see that even the foreign coaches, and I had Sensei Glenn in the forefront a little more because a lot of their activities Jay was involved in. So I wasn't refereeing, I wasn't coaching really, I was just, because we had worked extensively with them.
The work ethics of Cobra, and
Yeah.
and not just that. I remember when our children did karate with your school, it was the support. You had a system whereby you allowed the parents,
We moved as a family.
yeah, as a family, so the parents would be there, doing the exercise aspects
Yes,
and
absolutely.
before, and then you have the children, and
Yes.
also you had the fun days where people
Yes.
used to be. Then you had the walks,
Walks, yes,
So
yes.
tell us about that model, how what it
So-
came out of.
Early into karate, I realized that it was difficult to keep teenagers. So you develop them from primary school. Well, parents looked at us as a daycare, 2 hours that they could do something else. However, they learned the discipline, they learned the art, but we started to lose them as teenagers. And that is because I felt at that time that is because we did not have the support of the parents. So we'd have that growth, and even from Sensei Bobby Tan says we're going to have 200 people, we'll be lucky if 10 stays. So we were always involved in the community. And I used the model of actually inviting the community, the parents. Now, I'm a personal trainer as well, so I run a gym. We work out every day. And I was vested in the health of the nation. I still have a pet peeve, which is, we will spend millions. You'll have the creative fund gives us roads, but we don't have a place on the road to walk. So you'll have the dialysis machines upon the begging for dialysis machine upon dialysis machine. You have people on the waiting line. However, we're not affecting what's going to happen to the next generation if you don't have a place for them to recreate, a place for them to walk. So you're really waiting on somebody to die to be on the dialysis line, which I felt was
Well,
counterproductive.
that's what it's called. Die, I'll assist.
You understand? So I was always interested in a system that would be preventative. By the time you get to the doctor and you diagnose, you have a problem already. So I was, again, with my grandmother's influence, I always wanted to solve the problem before it happened. And I studied a bit of the physical structure, and of course, in the priest, he actually did a couple programs for me. I did do to with the family, studied the physical structure. And, a few of the doctors also are martial arts practitioners. And, I have a few of them within my midst. And I noticed that when they had a problem, they didn't medicate, they came to me. Or the people who were close to them, they send them to me. They tell me, Sensei, design a program for the next 6 weeks, we're going to monitor it, and I will gradually decrease the dosage. So I did have a mentor in the States who did something similar with me, and we were into karate, and we had presented a program to the insurance councils in St. Lucia, because we noticed if we engage in physical activity, the number of sick days lessened. So we just quantified it financially. And we were able to save a company's bill by half just by getting the members involved in physical activity. Sad to say that somewhere along the line that idea got shelved, in spite of the fact that we had the statistics to show how much savings was done. So I took the mantle on myself to start the movement to actually just promote
So
holistic
it's not
lifestyle.
sad to say, it was a good thing.
Well, I still feel that it should have been done on a broader scale.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about life and its resources. You're saying, like Miles will tell you, the graveyard is the richest place. You see, inspiring people, and you get just here. 2 weeks they were diagnosed with stage 5 cancer, and once they've accepted that, a few months after they're gone, And these are progressive people who had dreams, vision, and we're losing a lot of that without seeing that the legacy pass on as well. I believe in one person making a difference, but the community actually could save a whole nation. So I'm into that theology of that as well. So really that is what caused us to target the family. I think as much as we say the kids, and we're in a generation where it's almost children leading, which is upside down, we know that the parents have the influence. So what I did, I said, listen, I'm a personal trainer. I can give you an hour of training for free, the deal is leave your children with me for the next hour for karate. The benefit is going to be consistency and discipline. And we saw that using that approach actually gave us the pool that we needed, and we were able to keep the children for a longer period. And even when they left, they actually started to come back to give back. And you know, we just continue that. I still continue that model today. And the name Cobra is in Africa and in the monasteries. Pabo, who's the monastery, has benefited from that. The nuns know who I am. I've done the programs for them, continue to do the programs for them. And as a matter of fact, by doing a couple of the programs for them for a couple of years, they were the ones who actually gave me the statistic in terms of showing me how their health improved and how they spent less money.
Because of exercise?
Yes, because of that. And they actually propagated it through the various monasteries in the Caribbean and as far as where they did the outreach works as well.
See, so, that's why you are a local legend, you know. That's why we are, no, seriously.
Yes,
yeah,
so
seriously,
once somebody calls and you're talking about prime ministers, kings, governors, and they call me Cobra, I know it's probably because of Pablo. You know, in the water they call me Snowman, Checker Man. But most times, apart from my circle, once it's a foreign number and they say Cobra, I know that is, you know. And it's really, they're always thankful for the movement, thankful for the consistency. Everybody talks about the dedication and the consistency towards, you know, giving to help, you know. Yeah.
So you see now, like in St. Lucia, where we have that high escalation in you know, violence and deaths, and I mean the work that you are doing. So the reason why you are here on this program is because we see the murders, but we don't see the lives that are actually safe. Because I mean, when 2 or 3 youths go through karate, or because I myself took my children into it because I was very small growing up.
Yes.
I was small, like, you know. I think probably I was like going fast in class or something. And I was bullied. Like, you know, I remember time.
I mean going fast in class, you mean like you were...
Like, well, I was ahead, so I was young, but I was just small, and, you know. And I remember walking in the school, and a man just tripping me, you know, all these different, I go for these things there. And that does build a type of thing inside of you. Even if you're small, does build a kind of mentality in your head, you know. And I remember years afterwards, you know, I see that same fella. and that time probably I was like about 18, 19.
Yes.
You know, and I was like in a different type of life.
Yes.
You know, and I said, but look at how people does take advantage of people. And then they never anticipate that has actually have an indelible mark on that person for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
I could never forget that, man.
Yeah.
I could never forget that day that I was walking,
Yes.
and the man tripped me because he was speaking to a group of girls, and the man just tripped me. Bad too. Right, so because I went through that, I said I never want to see anyone take advantage of my daughter.
Right, yes.
You know, my sons. You know, so through your work and Sensei Glenn and Sensei Mike, I think we have 2 black belts.
Yes.
And 2 brown belts. Yes. You know, and I think that it's just because I don't they have moved, they're going to different type of things now, but you know,
chess,
and
football, yes, absolutely.
Yes, so but I am, you know, forever grateful of, you know, one of the things that I recognized with Cobra Karate was that it was like the children, you know, our children never used to run and hug nobody, you know, or come and thing, you know, they are that type, but with you, you know, they used to run and hug Sensei Anthony and Jay.
Yes.
You know, so at the end of the day, I just want you to just tell us, you know, Jay's your sons as a father. What are the critical things in fatherhood? You know, even if he's big and he's very good in kamote. Yes. You know, I remember the last competition we were there. He gave a man a spin kick and well, I mean, it was Matnike and you know, and they were very arrogant.
Yes.
You know, and Jay stopped the man for spin kick. Bam!
He
The man
was
just
stunned.
fell.
He was
You know,
stunned.
the man just fell, and I say, wow. So, and with all that power, and all that capacity that he has, he's like a humble giant.
Yes.
Very humble.
Tell us, as a father, how you are able to pass on these traits onto our young men, because right now I think that's a critical component in just nurturing people to just be able to exercise great level of self-control, even if they have the power to be lethal.
One of the things that I learned early, even as a parent, is the power of touch. And as a society in St. Lucia, we were very prevalent with that. And we have since adopted the Western culture. And I think it's also with the advent of tourism and all of those sexual harassment and but one of the proponents, which was for healing and also for growing, is touch. And even as a manager, I might say to somebody, move this from there. And I would get, and you know, you'd see the flesh come up. How that man could talk to me.
If they'll tell you that?
No, they don't say, but you could see.
The body language, the energy.
However,
I'm talking about, you know, if you look at them, and you get challenged.
You'll never see
However, the difference is if you put your hand on his shoulder and you say move, say the same way, with the same tone, move that from me. Just because of the element of touch, the reaction is different. So I learned that very, very early in life. So that's one of the things that I used. And just being open and honest. There is, everywhere I can go, there are other things, but everywhere I'm invited to, my sons are with me.
I see
They do everything with me. I think I introduce them to all mentors, but I'm the greatest mentor. You understand? And it's an open, because like I said, as you see it on television, our so-called celebrities, what is really behind the scenes and what is happening. So I would allow them to take the positive traits. You don't really know the person, but that is good. And it's okay to hold on to that.
Yeah, not
but
the
to
person.
really see them, Jay has a favorite phrase of mine. And I always had my kids around money. So that element of theft is never wrong. They sleep on money. Whether it's a cent, I did that from earlier clubs, so you could never, because that's one of the biggest reasons for fighting in St. Lucia. Somebody from 25 cents up. And I never wanted them to be involved in that. Now, one of the things that karate does, when you have the ability and you know how to hit somebody, you walk different. You deal with situations differently.
I know exactly what you're talking about, man.
They see that. They see that in you. So a lot of people still think or see me in some of the great fights that I had in the ring, but not physically. And even as a policeman, you would see that a prisoner trying to escape and he runs into me. And he's reluctant to raise his hand. Whereas he'll break a bottle in somebody else's hand and move. You know, and I had that distinction of never being hurt by anybody. Because I chose where I went. I knew what I was doing. So you wouldn't see me out partying, you wouldn't see me out drinking. If you need me, come and get me where you know I'll be. 5 o'clock in the morning on the road. Or in the dojo. So you know what you're coming for. But you'll not get the drop on me. Which is because most people who do it in crowds. There are few people who have the courage to look at you in your eye and really attack you. And most of the gun violence is the same. We have a problem with conflict resolution. And one of the things, and I was saying that to a fellow officer, that back in the days we used to just bring them to the post-mortem room.
You said to a fellow officer. That's why I said once a police, always a what? Always a police.
At the time. And it was amazing to see the same guy who had 9, 10 kills, who was bragging in the community of being a shatter. You take him in with permission, especially with Dr. Stephen King at the time. And by the time you start weighing the actual organs, to see him vomit, to see him confess of all the things that, and although he had done so many hits, just to see a lifeless body, it just did something to them. You know, that it's okay to see it on television, but to be, and I used to do, little let them sit down in the mortuary first. The smell, hear the song going through. And then after all of that, all the organs are weird, you just check it. Open the stomach and check it. The nothingness of life, you know? And you really realize that they were not courageous, they were cowards. You know, they actually just put up a show. It takes a little more effort to take your feet and fight for 5 minutes than to pull a 9 and jump. squeeze the trigger. And I think it's really our understanding of conflict resolution and, also the valuing of life. That, it's a wealth of knowledge. You actually rob in a community or you rob in yourself of development. And it really, in the end, like I said, I have not seen the gang system actually prosper. I will see no role model as a gangster at 50 years old, 75 years old to say, yeah, you hear when they're telling you about the stories, they broke and destitute, need help. So that is not a life of somebody who's progressive in the end. So it's almost like all of them goes down to fleeting riches. So I've always, one of the things I did with my sons is to actually show them examples. So you'll find my sons who into soccer, football, early o'clock, and they were not the most talented. They just had the discipline and they worked harder. However, once I saw a young
And
person,
volleyball.
yes, and volleyball. Once I saw a young person who was just as talented but had started drugs and started the effects of drugs, I didn't have to pound into them why not to use drugs. I showed them the example. And they know the talent of that person who was 100 times better than them. And then within a year, that skill level would have denigrated, that my sons would have surpassed. I mean, they couldn't, when Levi shoulder you on the football field, you're on the floor and you're wondering,
remember doing that one time, when you bounce on me and thing, you just bounce back.
Absolutely. And it's really been a privilege to be their fathers and to see them progress. And they've also ventured into the underwater business with me. Actually, Levi is actually one of the first people to work. Actually, he just came back from Saudi Arabia. He's working on the first set of underwater aquatic cars for the aquarium stuff there. And it was just, one of the good things is he was with the creators for about 2 years. And they just think the world of him. Very skilled, but very disciplined.
Yeah,
but one of his biggest traits, they keep telling me, is how polite and how gentleman he is. And Jay is the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
and you would think being raised by a father,
a violent person.
Because he's laughing and so on. No, but anyone seeing Sensei in action, because I was thinking that, even with our children, Baba and Baby, the time when we went to Martinique and everything, and they got to experience Sensei, like Sensei was just taking care of us, making sure everything's okay. And even though he would correct them in the kind of voice that would make you tremble and these kind of things, shake, they'd still go and run hug Sensei and so on. So to see even, with Jay and Levi and Sensei, my experience with you, I see that you've been a father, you are a father to many of these youths that are doing karate with you. And I have witnessed from the point when they start, seeing them come in, and then after a couple of years, and then, just to see the person, because, when we were away for a while and then we came and the transformation, it was very impressive. And their growth and everything, it's commendable.
I don't think 40 minutes is good enough for Sensei. We should have had you.
Yeah, because we don't even talk about the underwater structures, the cultural vibes.
We'll have to
part 2.
Do a part 2.
Absolutely.
Because it's 40 minutes and it's a thing, and we can signal at 1 minute. But we just want to showcase you, as a local legend, as someone that we think that your impact is tremendous. We as a family have benefited from it. I know many of the other families who have benefited from it. So I just want to applaud you and celebrate everything that you are doing. And I pray you make a lot of money in your business.
Absolutely. You told me that from COVID.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, they say the love of money is the root to all evil. I think that people are in. You need money to impact life, because many of the works that you are doing, and it's your own money that you have to utilize. So give thanks as we celebrate our beloved brother, Sensei Anthony Leons. We definitely would have to, the 40 minutes was just not enough. He had laugh.
So, Sensei, even before you leave, because I feel that a lot of the youths, karate is a gateway for them to really learn these essential things like discipline, and even in terms of knowing and overseeing their power, you know, as a young man, a young woman, prince, princess. So if you can just share your contact information.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's...
yeah, because karate is just $20 a month.
Yes.
And
well,
I know you...
We're not into karate to make money, and that was one of the traits that Sensei Bobby left with us. It is to make an impact. Most of the times we charge is just to suffice for the rent of the place. But I invested into my place from 2009. So my number is 484-3346. I do have the home of Cobra Karate is at Molava Moshi. I train there on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturday mornings and Saturday evening. But the Lance Road property is sold, is in the process of being sold. So I think I'd have to add the Mondays and Wednesdays class there as well. So again, like I always tell Sensei Glenn, is the foresight. You know, we've had that for a while. Town was a little more centralized location, but I always knew something like that would happen.
You can get it if you really want.
So I have the downstairs and I have the rooftop with a ring as well. I've developed, I actually have a branch of my business because I'm no longer inside of the National Trust. From the 1st of September, I was given notice. So I actually have a building on the outside in the Pigeon Island beach facility. So you'd see a building, you know, my wrapping, completely wrapped out there. And I also have a business office and my compressor room up at Mulava as well. And that is, again, re-emphasizing the point that Chris made, that, you know, you need money. And the people who thought that they probably could have crippled me, I'm a business person, and it was money that actually gave me.
How can they cripple a karate man? You could just give them the thing, and then they just paralyzed.
And they didn't know this. I always said, you never motivate a cobra. I'm already a motivated person. And some of the struggles for the last 3 years just motivated me even more. I think we should have just left the cobra alone.
Nah, man, it's good that they travel. You'll rise some more.
Absolutely.
Give thanks.
So yes, and you know, hopefully I could have an avenue also. And incidentally, most of the young people that I have employed in my establishment were either from the Denver or the Viewport area. And again, you've seen some of the same issues. It's just the discipline of doing. A lot of them have credited me to saving their life. I'll quickly tell you a story. In Denver, there was a young guy who seemed to have been involved in the business. And maybe 10 years ago, I went down to a funeral of my staff down there.
I remember that, man.
Yes, and then I went there to get some fish, and they were probably looking for him for 2 years, and they saw him. And he came to me saying, "Boss man." And then the guy was looking for him, finally caught up with him, but he had my logo on it, my uniform. And then he saw me, and he actually came up to me and told me, "That man working with you? Boy, that's the only reason I'm not going to hit that man." And he went to the guy's home and tell the parent, they say, "Thanks God for Mr. Leos, because I've been looking for him for this." The lady called me in tears the next day, you know. So sometimes we don't understand the impact that we have on the young people that we deal with as well.
Give thanks.
So I was very grateful that I had been able to.
Yeah. Well, we're getting a nod from the Honorable. So give thanks again, Mr. Leons, and give thanks for being the first. Give thanks, movers and shakers. As you know, you're just getting warmer. Right? As you know, definitely every Tuesday evening at 8:30 on HTS television, and definitely we're looking forward to just continue celebrating our people. And we had our community custodian, who is Mr. Eli Box of Blueprint, and we're just celebrating with Mr. Anthony Leons, who Logistics International, you know, Cobra Karate, you know, and the greatest title of them all, a Leons. You know, so we celebrate you, my brother, and give thanks for all the love and all the good things we do.
Give thanks for, you know, the movement.
Yes, and we invite our listening and viewing audience that if you know of anyone within your community that fits into or should be recognized as a community custodian, a local legend, or if you want us to help to celebrate your new births, please contact us 723-8117. 723-8117. Give thanks. Blessed love.